Are you team acrylics or team gouache? If you are a beginner artist and you keep hearing these terms quite often and wondering what they are, then don't worry, we have you covered. Let's first talk about gouache. Gouache is a water-based medium and it's popularly called as opaque watercolors. You need to add little bit water to make the paint creamy. And it has characteristics of both watercolors as well as acrylics, and the major difference lies in the way the medium dries once the painting is done. Gouache dries to a matte finish and looks opaque once it's completely dried. It is a very forgiving medium by nature, and you'll get to know why later in this video. Now let's see acrylics. Acrylics is also a water-based medium but needs very little or no water at all depending upon the application. Here, we have taken the paints directly from the tube and have not applied even a little bit of water. But the real trick when using acrylics is you need to be super quick because acrylics tend to dry really fast, and especially on paper, you need to have a little bit of practice before directly blending the paints on the paper. That's why many artists prefer to use acrylics on canvas, and they also use like retarder mediums to slow down the drying process of acrylics. Now the first layer is completely dry. Do you see the difference? Gouache has a matte finish whereas acrylics gives a satin finish. Now let's see what happens when we re-wet the surface of both these mediums. Acrylics remain intact as once the layer dries, it becomes water resistant, whereas gouache gets reactivated when it comes in contact with water. That's why it's called as opaque watercolors, because it tends to react like watercolors as well. You can still reapply on the gouache layer because it's opaque in nature, and we can consider the painting as good as new. Though it behaves more like watercolors, this one characteristic of gouache makes it more popular nowadays by artists, and they prefer to use gouache over watercolors just because of this particular forgiving nature of gouache. Acrylics, as I said, becomes water resistant once the layer dries and doesn't get reactivated even on applying how much ever water you want. Can you see the difference? Now, let's add some details to both these paintings. I just added a little bit water to the black paint to make it little flowy, as acrylic paints are very thick in consistency. You can directly add the paints from the tube as well, or add a little bit of water to make it smooth. Gouache being opaque, you can add a darker shade on a lighter shade and vice versa. Both these mediums work well on multiple surfaces, but gouache works best on paper that has a mild texture. Acrylics is more suited for multi-surface painting because the layer doesn't get affected when it comes in contact with water. So artists use them on like paper, glass, wood, boxes. But my personal preference would be to use acrylics on canvas than paper because the blending is quite tricky on paper. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Leave your valuable feedback in the comment section and subscribe to our channel for more such videos.